guys, so this is the screen for skills, right? This is where you get all your skills. This is where it tells you what you've got. This is where you're going to learn new skills. As you upgrade your level, these skills are going to upgrade. So the way you upgrade your skills is to buy them with gold. If you haven't got enough gold at the time, you're going to have to accumulate the gold to buy these. A lot of the game will give you enough gold, more than enough gold, to upgrade all of these things. As you can see, I've got an upgrade right here. Flatten. It's an upgradable attack, so it says learn. So I press X, I learn it. It's going to cost 1 silver, 74 bronze. Very easy. You learn the attack, and now it's available for me to put on my shortcut tray. The shortcut tray that I talked about before is already going to have these things by default, and I'll just give you an idea by what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this particular attack on the shortcut tray. So it currently is not on, and I'll tell you why. Right? If you back out of the screen, it's a chain skill. So the game has already pre-selected which skills you want. So you go to chain skills. This is something you gotta do in your spare time. Really, you have to work this out for yourself. But as you see, it's the attack that comes after staggering strike, which is the one I used when I battled the monster, which is on triangle, which I'll show you here. That staggering strike, it tells you what it does. It tells you basically what it does. So its cast time is instant, so when you press the button, it's gonna basically do the move. It's gonna cost you 100 mana. That's the one I showed you, the blue bar, and a cooldown. So the amount of times, how often you can use it is gonna be every 20 seconds. And it shows you the base damage. So base damage is important because you want certain attacks, use certain attacks over others. But if they take too long to cool down, maybe you don't want to use them, or you want them put on a button that's more accessible to your play style. I mean, you know how your hands work on the controller. Some people will be able to use a lot more fingers and thumbs. For me, I normally just use, you know, my thumbs on the buttons and fingers on the triggers. That's it, right? And it tells you down here all this other stuff. I mean, you guys can read through it. You know, the Noctanium infusion is something that they give you, and it's a boost. Basically, it's a boost. Really, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to remap my shortcuts to the way I like them. And the one thing I normally always do, and I always recommend that people do, but again, it's up to you to do it, I always take the interact button. So interact button is what you interact with. So if you're going to gather something like a plant or something, you're going to have to press the interact button, which in this case is the X. If you want to talk to an NCP, you're going to have to press the interact button, which again is the X. So I'm going to change that to the left directional button because I find it more natural. What it does is so it's tuck it off the X button and put it on to the left directional, and you've got another skill now that has become, well, you're going to have to reassign this. You don't have to, but you know, the games recommend you reassign it. So I normally just put this right here, and then this one's gone. So what I do now that's going to keep doing that, I just delete pretty much all these other skills because I want to remap it. This is something I don't recommend you do if you're a new player. I think you will do this part as you progress through the game, but I don't really do that. I just leave it where it is, right? So I just get rid of all this stuff, and I always get rid of this stuff right here. So basically my basic looks like this. And how do I get rid of this? Because it's following me around, right? So I just press back, and then I just press interact again. Now I have my plain bar, right? So I've got, if I go back to the skills, active skills, I've got to reassign all these skills. How do you know which ones have been assigned and which ones haven't? So evasive roll, I want this for my personal play on the circle, right? So the way I do it is I scroll over to it, I press X, now it's saved to that key, right? And as you see on evasive roll, it's got a little tick in the corner. Like Velika's horn hasn't got a tick yet, so I'm going to reassign that up here. These skills up here, you're going to be able to access these through the UI dial, which I'll show you in a moment. Actually, I'll show you right now because then you know what it looks like. So mine is on L1 and left directional button, and this is what you get. And the way to use this is you use the right stick as basically as a dial. So if I just want to use this potion right here, so I hold down, I just select it, and I release the original command, which was L1 plus the left directional button. Now I've used it. All right, and you probably heard the little sound to indicate that you're using it. That's how you open up that menu, and that's how you use it. I just use it for like stuff like this, you know, stuff that you're gonna use once, and the cooldown on that particular skill on Velika's Horn is 1 hour. So I don't want it on a key that's gonna, you know, get in the way all the time. I'm not gonna be able to use it that often, so I want to put it out the way where I can still get to it, but I don't have to keep going into this screen to press the square to use this particular skill. So the next one I'm going to use is Thunder Strike. So Thunder Strike, I know is a charge up skill. I'm going to put it on R1. How do I know it's a charge up skill? Well, it tells you in the description. Plus you can tell if you look at the top line of it, it says 90, 90, 120. So it's going to take up 90 and 90 for the first two charges mana, and then the second one is going to be 120. So it's a charge up attack. I like playing as a Zerk because it has that playstyle that I like. So again, the characters you choose, the classes you choose are going to come down to what you like. If you're a close up melee type person, you're going to play with those type of classes. If you're more of a ranged person, you're going to play with that type of class. And if you want to be a healer, that's something you're going to have to play. Again, I don't recommend healers for new players because it's difficult to understand what the monsters are going to do on a regular basis. And you know, I'm not gonna, well actually I'll just reassign these because I know where I want to put them. Vampire's Blow, I want to put with the L1 and R1 skill. You know, we got Cyclone here, and you know, we got Overwhelm, which again is a one, you know, button press type skill, so I'm gonna put it right here. Combo attack. So my combo attack, this is the only one I always keep the same for every character. I always put it on X because it's easy to use X. It's natural just for to press X every time, right? And then Staggering Strike, I'm just gonna put it here, and we'll just distribute the rest of these. You know, the only attack I never change, or I always have the same as well, is your defensive skill. So whichever one your main defensive skill is, to get you out of a bind where you're about to take damage. So for my character right here, it's X block. For some other characters, it's either a back jump or a evasion maneuver. Like for if you play Slayer, you're gonna get evasive roll, and that's gonna be a little reset often for you to use. Even for this character, it's 5 seconds, so that's not a lot of time you have to wait for you to be able to reuse that attack. So as you see, when you learn new skills, they're gonna appear here, and you're just gonna have to learn them, upgrade the ones that you already have, and that's basically your shortcut trays. Within the skills menu, as you can see, you're probably looking and thinking, as I'm moving these around, there's those little buttons in the middle of the screen, little icons in the middle of the screen. Why are they doing that? Well, those are how you upgrade your actual skill trees. So when you play those games where you can upgrade your attack and stuff, and you can learn new attacks, but how do you get the most bang out of that attack? How do you get that attack to be more powerful? Well, this is where you what they call glyph points. They're just essentially skill points. So if you click X on it, it does not. So pressing X will not take you to your shortcut tray. It would just highlight this area. As you can see, this particular icon that I'm highlighting will get, if I enable it, which I can't yet because I have to get level 20 to do that, will double the crit. And the next one, if I enable, will be increase additional overcharge. And you can, you know, flick through these menus, and these are going to highly be dependent on your playstyle. So some things you're not going to want to improve, you're not going to want to enable because you don't use it. It's not the way you play. It might seem good, it might seem really useful, and it looks really, it gives you crazy boosts, but if you don't use that particular attack, you don't need to do that. So one thing I play with a Zerk, I use like a shouting attack. I haven't enabled it yet, but I'll quickly show you guys. You know, Fiery Rage, right? There's only certain things on here like aggro. I don't need to increase aggro. I'm not tanking class. I'm a DPS type. So it seems like a good idea. Oh yeah, 20% more aggro, right? Because you've got a crystal that's going to allow you to hit monsters that are enraged for 50% more damage. If that's what you want to do, that's what you're going to do. I don't do that. I don't put my time into that. That's not my play style. I play mobile DPS with the Zerk, which is kind of hard to do sometimes, but because it's a very slow moving class. But you know, I upgrade those skills and stuff and things that allow me to have better movement speed, better charge ups, and allow me to be more mobile. And again, that's my play style. That's what I do. So it depends. These things are going to depend highly on the way you play. If you're with a class that's going to charge up a lot of attacks, that needs to be stationary, like a healer or like a sorcerer, you know, you're gonna have to work those things out, right? You're gonna have to have those skills enabled. You're gonna have to improve those skills. You have to apply the correct amount of crystals or the correct type of crystals that allow you to do that and amplify that effect for you. The next tab in this particular part of the video is the passive. So these, you don't have to use these just enable as soon as a certain point is triggered. So if it's battle, all these things will happen. So for this one, you see Merciless Leap. It tells you your leaping strike deals 25% more damage. So we have a strike that allows us to leap up in the air and damage. And I'll show you where it is. It's called Leaping Strike, right? So we learned that at level 24. So when we get that, we put it on the shortcut tray, and when we use it, we're going to get an additional 5 times the damage, right, against knockdown enemies. So that's a key thing to remember. It's knockdown enemies. So you just read through the game, just pay a little bit more attention than you know you have to do with other games, because there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of stuff in there. Watch some more guides. You know, there's some guides from like 2012 that are like super detailed, and they're really cool guides to watch because they tell you some really good stuff. The next one, we've already been through this bit, but these are the skills, your essential skills. So you got jump and interact. You don't have to have all these on. If you want to use auto run, put it on auto run on something, you can do, but I don't really use it. The only one I use is lock on, which is over here, which is more natural for me to press L1 and R3 together. What lock on does, it means you don't have to constantly move the camera around with the right stick. So it just locks onto an enemy, to a monster, and what it'll do is you see this little shining light, little shining pin, and that's the center of the screen. That's where your reticle will be, right? And that's where the camera will constantly keep moving regardless of whichever way you move, which allows you to be evasive, allows you to charge up attacks, allows you to do a whole bunch of stuff that make this game's gameplay hands down one of the best I've ever played, in my opinion. You know, the action combat is the best, and the way you use your skills and the way you use your camera is going to dictate how much you enjoy it. So I honestly, I would recommend you invest your time into learning the attacks, learning the stuff. I skipped out the zone, the star zone. After watching this video, maybe you want to do the star zone, but to be honest, I mean, the stuff you learn in star zone it's about an hour, 40 minutes. It's quite long, in my opinion, for a star zone. I don't want to do that, so that's why I recommend, you know, you skip it out. But it's entirely up to you guys. It's entirely up to you guys. There's a lot of good stuff on there that teaches how to play the game. The next one is riding skills. When you get a new mount, so right now we've got this one right here, and it tells you what it does. It's got a movement speed of 240. As you play the game, you're going to get better mounts. You can unlock mounts within the game, but you have to, there's a lot to do to get those. You have to be a dedicated player. You have to grind a little bit. There's a really long-term goal for you if you want one of those. You can buy the mounts from the TERA store for cash, or exchange cash for points, and then you can buy them with points. That's entirely up to you. I've done that in the past, you know, because I like a certain mount, I wanted it, and it's not my main character, so you know, that's a character I'm not going to delete, so I buy the mount. But again, if you're happy with the one that you got, you know, that's cool. You will get another one in this current patch. You will get another one. I don't want you to be worried about that. I mean, as the game may change in the next 6 months, they might take that out. They may stop giving us that, but I think it's going to be a part of the game for the foreseeable future. The next tab is pets. This allows you to collect items that monsters drop. So there's a lot of stuff that monsters drop. Some of it's useful, some of it's absolute garbage. You don't need it. Don't pick it up. Obviously, you guys will know what it is as you play the game. I don't want to spoil the game for you guys, but you're gonna know what it is, you know. And for me, when I started playing the game, it was action combat and the drops. So the monsters used to drop a lot of things. I used to love that. I used to think, wow, man, when I get some cool stuff out of here, you know, and there's still some cool stuff you can get. There's a lot of garbage too, right? That's just what it is. That's just what the game does. If they gave away all the cool stuff all the time, people would get bored really easily, real quick, and they wouldn't play the game. And they want you to play the game, right? The next tab is change skills. So here, this is something I don't really change. I just leave these alone. As you play the game, you're gonna realize that you don't want certain skills to come out a certain way because of the cooldown time. So certain skills will cool down earlier, or maybe they're just a little bit awkward to use. Other than that, you know, you're not gonna change much of this at all. I mean, there's already like 3 skills here. So tenacity, dash, and unchained anger. I know that's the skill chain. I'm not gonna stick dash and unchained on the shortcut tray. Why? Because I know when I press the button for tenacity, I press the button for tenacity again, and I'm gonna do dash because it's already chained in. And I press the button for tenacity again, and I'm gonna do unchained anger because it's being programmed in. You can change these programmings. If you do decide to do your own chain skills, just remember, guys, how they work for your playstyle. If something has a long cast time or a long animation time, is it a good idea? Maybe not. If it's something's got a real quick, is it a good idea to put that before? Is that a good idea to put it after? Sometimes you get certain skills that release faster after a certain other attack, right? So that's something you have to look at when you're in this screen. You can read all the stuff. And again, when you go to the glyphs allow you to, you know, this like flatten, right? Speeds casting by 25%, increase the skill damage. So there's stuff like that that's out there. I mean, for staggering strike, right? Reduces the cost of flatten. So flatten comes out after staggering strike, you know, and it's gonna use less mana if I use it in that order. But if I use Thunder Strike after staggering strike, it gives me a 30% boost. If that's a strike, if that's what your rotation is, you're gonna want to enable the glyph for that, and maybe you want to build that in to your chain skill. So when you press staggering strike, and the next skill you're gonna press after that is gonna be Thunder Strike. But as you see, we've already got one for Thunder Strike, and it's Vampire Blow. I'm not really gonna get into these skills because, you know, that's not the point of this video, right? So that's a part of the skills. I just wanted to explain to guys and girls out there that that's how those things work. I'm not sure if I did a good job or not, but I tried to do the best in that instance. Hopefully you guys have a better idea. Hopefully you guys understand a little bit more than what's already on the screen, what all these things mean, right? Because it doesn't really tell you. There's no little button that says, hey, what does this mean? So that's what all these are. I mean, if you want to add new skills, just go to the bottom and you click add chain skill. But that's the skills for you guys. That's the part of the skills tab. I'm going to show you a little bit about crafting. Not a lot, to be honest, because crafting is an end game thing, and that's a separate video on its own.